According to a World Bank report, by 2030, close to half of the world's extreme poverty will be concentrated in countries affected by fragility, conflict, and violence. Crises often impact the most vulnerable people and communities, with women and children being the most generally affected. The poor in Nigeria are now daily victims to the converging threats from organized crimes, banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism. With a growing state of insecurity in the country, if the social protection of the most vulnerable is not urgently addressed, the long-term effect can only be imagined. Welcome to Break It Down. Hello and welcome to Break It Down, where we make matters of policies, societal issues, governance and development easily understood by all. Today we are looking at protecting the vulnerable during insecurity. And my guest is Miss Chioma Kanu. Chioma is the Executive Director of Mothers and Marginalized Advocacy Center, MAMA. I like the name MAMA.
Exactly.
So what exactly is MAMA?
Yeah, well, as you've already mentioned, MAMA is actually Mothers and Marginalized Advocacy Center. It's a female-led non-governmental organization that focuses on issues around women empowerment, girl-child education, child nutrition. For the women, we actually want to see a situation where our women in Nigeria will become self-sustained, through empowerment, maybe for the smallholder farmers, Then we also want such women to also be able to pursue their socioeconomic rights and socio-political rights as well. We want to also work with young girls, and young children. The girls, we want education for the girls. We want good health for our girls. We want them to achieve their own sexual and reproductive health and rights. Of course, the children, we don't want any children suffering from malnutrition. So these are the issues that Mama Center is focusing on.
When we talk about security, protecting the vulnerable, sometimes you think security is just the banditry, what is it called, terrorism and all of that. But you're just talking about health now. Makes me realize that there's health security too.
Oh yes.
So this is a very broad, very, very broad subject. I don't really envy you. I don't know how you're doing it with your NGO, but you guys are really doing well. You're doing so well. Let's try and stick to the topic now, protecting the vulnerable in society. Who exactly what is vulnerability, for example? Who is the vulnerable in our society? For the benefit of our viewers, let's break it down.
So the way Mama Center views vulnerable groups are those people that are susceptible to hurt, to attacks, those that cannot really protect themselves. And to us, children, newborn babies, little children, young girls, women, form majorly the marginalized, the vulnerable groups. Young people, we talk about youth unemployment. Do you know that that is a time bomb in the country? If you have a lot of young people that are unemployed, it's a time bomb.
Are they also vulnerable?
They are highly vulnerable. They come out of the university, they have their degrees, 5 years down the line, there's no job, they're just hanging there. They're just like bullets in the hands of horrible people.
And also mental health.
Exactly, mental health issues.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the groups that we consider as vulnerable and actually those are the ones that we want to give voice to, through our interventions in Mama Center.
So by your own research findings and everything, all the work you do, which demographic falls under the most vulnerable when we talk about the economic impact of
youth
insecurity?
Youth, girls, women. The youth constituting both boys, girls, okay? The girls, young girls, and then of course women. They are to us the most vulnerable groups in the community, in the society in Nigeria.
Okay, we have a new trend now of kidnappings, and it's so worrisome that girls are the major targets. What do you have to say about this? Why girls? Why are they picking up girls?
Honestly, I don't know what is inside the mind of criminals. I mean, I don't know what they are thinking of when they are targeting girls. That perhaps they feel that girls are easier targets, than maybe boys or maybe men or women. They just pick the girls, easily. They can't defend themselves, They can use force and they cannot fight back. So they pick them up, and then if their parents don't come for them, they can actually easily trade them, for other economic purposes. So I think I don't know, but I'm just trying to decode it, based on trends, and then based on the news, what I hear on the news, that perhaps that's why girls are the most, the easiest of the targets when it comes to kidnapping. And then of course they know, you link it up, the girl has someone standing behind her, her parents are there. So if you touch a girl child, the father is there, the mother is there, whatever ransom that is demanded of them, they have to source for it and provide it.
Can we also say it's a means of discouraging girl child education and disempowerment of the female?
Oh my, yeah, of course. Why not? Why not? Because in fact, during that Chibok girls crisis, it came up very clearly. Of course, we talk about Boko Haram, those that are averse to Western education and all that. And then they kidnap the girl child or all those 200, school Chibok girls, So you start wondering, could it be for those that are within the same community that are still wondering, tinkering with enrolling their children in school, their girl child in school, could it be like a way of like discouraging them from going further, with educating their girl children? So yes, it's actually a good point that could actually be one of the major reasons why the girls are also the targets, just to discourage them from enrolling the girl children in school, which is horrible.
Very,
very terrible.
We'll take a break now. We are still with Chioma Kanu, and we are still discussing protecting the vulnerable during insecurity. We'll be back. We're still on Break It Down. Welcome back to Break It Down, and we're still with Chioma, the very beautiful Chioma Kanu of Mama, and we're still discussing protecting the vulnerable during insecurity. And before we went on break, we talked about empowering the disadvantaged and how government is inadvertently disempowering the female. Like we spoke the last time, and you were very passionate about hawkers.
Yes.
And how they are not allowed to hawk, their wares are seized, and this is what they rely on. They do not even have formal schooling, they do not have the the economy, the finance to rent shops and all of that. Please, can you tell us more about why you are passionate about this and what can be done?
Actually, thank you so much, Moji. This topic, in fact, it makes me very, very emotional. These women that probably haven't even registered a business name, you know, they just carry their wares on their heads. School children, young women probably carrying their babies at the back, hawking tomato, mango, or whatever. Everything on their tray might not be up to 2,000 naira, and these people will be pursuing them all over the place, trying to get them to extort them, exploit them. You know, when the big money is out there and nobody is seemingly interested in pursuing, you know, what the big multinationals are doing, you know, so you can't help but see that double standard, lack of interest, lack of willingness to actually do the right thing. But we just take things for granted in this country and just allow things to be rolling the way it's going, and that actually, you know, makes me upset sometimes. And of course, that's actually why we want to work, you know, we are working actually with women, girls, and of course, the private sector and government at some point to ensure policy, you know, good policies and good laws, you know, that could protect our girls and children are always, you know, in place.
What do you think can be the final solution to this? Okay,
if government wants to proceed by sending tax people to be pursuing them, it's not even going to help matters. It has never done. I know some states, you know, that has actually allowed it. Okay, so if you want to do something to help those people, I know they will just go and build stores which these women and girls can still not afford. The reason why they are hawking is not because they like the song so much. They are hawking because they can't even afford the basic things. They cannot afford even that tray that they are using to carry this thing. They probably borrowed.
Social intervention fund.
Exactly. There's even social safety nets. There are so many things that the government can do. Social protection. You know, there was a time we were pushing for that policy as civil society. I don't know what has actually come of it. There's so much they can do, but it appears sometimes we forget. We tend to forget, you know, this rural economy, because World Bank, I tell you, actually recognizes rural economy as a backbone to development for third world countries. So why don't we groom rural economy instead of trying to pull it down? You know, help them in any way whatsoever. If you move a little bit now to Otako, you will see people, women carrying banana, hawking groundnuts. Just go near them now. Any little thing, you see them, they take off. Some will just destroy their wares in the process of dodging those tax collectors. That is not the way to go. Protect those people. Find a way that even if you are going to do like some kind of stores, do it. Don't charge them money. Let them stay there. They too want to stay under the shade. They love AC too, just like those of us that are working in offices. They love to stay under such shades, but they don't have that opportunity. Okay? So what they are doing, you know, hawking on the street is just their last hope. That's the last hope, and nobody should stop them from pushing through. Instead of stopping them, do something that can enable them to make money under decent, you know, conditions, platforms. You know, you can't employ them. They cannot tap into government empowerment programs. You won't also allow them to do the little things that they can do.
We had government say they distributed, the economic team of government say they distributed 5,000, 10,000. Who did they distribute to? Shouldn't it be those people who are within that category?
There's always a question mark.
Economy.
There's always a question mark, and you know, people will. How I wish those that government has been empowering could actually come forward. Let us know that these things are going on, because sometimes when you ask, you hear, I've never heard. I heard government is empowering people. They gave them 5,000. And nobody I know has ever received it. So how I wish those things can actually start happening. Let us see those that have been empowered, so that we can know for truth, that these people have actually, that government has actually been doing something, because we don't ever get to see. The people I represent, I don't think any of them ever got, the one you're talking about. So we would want to see more of these things happening.
Sometimes it's not just government. So we talk about the private sector.
Private sector too.
Because when I go to the same Otako market, there was one morning I went there and I saw banks. This Ajo collection. Banks are now doing Ajo. They go from woman to woman. They have their cards. They write, the way it was done, this thrift in the old days. So if you can collect money from these people, why don't you get a plan for them? That is a corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, actually, most people have accounts, bank accounts. Okay, if really, that's the way I see it. If you really, as a government, you want to help people, why don't you pay money directly? Why make them run all over the place trying to find a way? In fact, sometimes they even run into the hands of fraudsters that will even defraud them of all they've ever saved in life. Do it in a more systematic way that people can actually access, those funds that you are disbursing. I know in other climes where the government, provided palliatives, stimulus for people because of COVID.
Yeah.
There's no story about it. It's just paid directly into your account. Okay, you get it. You just hear it on the news that finally they've passed this bill. Then the next 1 week, everybody is being paid. It's just very, very simple. I don't know why our own will always have to go through one long process before anything can actually happen in this country. It's such
they get food. They get food. Yeah, let's look at insecurity, as in banditry, terrorism. How do you think government can protect the vulnerable, which still comes down to the girl child, the women? Because when women are kidnapped, it's different from when men are kidnapped. The women go through more terrifying ordeal. Well, I'm sorry, because some people might contest that, but when a woman is raped, it's more terrifying than when a man is beaten up.
It's amazing that we have reached this level where we are even discussing this kind of thing. I don't think 20 years ago insecurity, kidnapping and raping and all those things was even an issue. But we are just getting from bad to worse, as a country, so much so that kidnapping has now become the norm. So much so we will now sit down and be discussing about what it's unheard of. It's actually saddening, to think that we have reached this stage. With all the state security votes, that are available to governors, with everything that is just going. With the laws, we have laws. We have security personnel, and then we are still discussing what government can do, to curb insecurity. In fact, I don't really know. In fact, let me just say it like that, because it actually is annoying that we are still asking that kind of question. I think that question should be left for government people. Let them answer it. What do they want to do to stop insecurity? Because how did we even get to this level that we are discussing what government? What have they been doing since? when we didn't have insecurity.
And you mentioned state governments. That is just the most bizarre. With their security votes
and stuff, we are still here deliberating on what we can do.
Some of them have even refused to pass the VAP Act to domesticate.
Exactly, to domesticate. We even have that act, you know. The ones that have passed the VAP Act, it has been passed at federal level, and up to 26 states have also passed it, you know. But what are they doing with it? You still hear of rape. Young girls still get raped, and then you take it to court. A judge somewhere will ask you what is VAP Act. So even at that highest level, they haven't even understood what the act is all about. And even if some have, there's no implementation of the act going on. So we also are canvassing for the Gender and Equal Opportunity Act, bill to be passed. Each time it enters the assembly, they will just throw it out. They are not interested in hearing about gender equality. But then if you look at it, it doesn't actually mean what it says. It's not about equality of women to men or something like, because I think that they don't even want to.
Like you said, women too have to rise up.
Absolutely.
We have to rise up. We don't have to go lining, queuing up, voting for men. Because when you go out on election day, about 70% of the people who vote are women. So we really need to wake up.
To be supportive, you know, support our own, you know, push our own until we get to that level.
That is another topic we will come and discuss.
I know.
Women supporting women, because people don't believe that women support themselves.
No, but you know that issue has actually been is overrated. I don't think so.
It's a narrative that must change,
and it has to change. If that's in places where they still hold that, you know, it has to change. Women are actually working together these days. You know, because you can't help it. It's only a woman that understands what another woman is going through, just as a man understands what a man is going through.
Quickly, I can see your passion. I can see you are putting in so much resources, time, money, everything at such a young age. Are you working with any government organization, or this is just something you are sacrificing yourself for?
Yes, it's mostly sacrifice. There's no government organization supporting us. The Mama Center was actually born out of that need to address, you know, these issues that we have been discussing, of women, of girls, of children in the country. We work with community, you know, people that are vulnerable, people that nobody, you know, seemingly cares for. Those are the ones that we work with. You know, we want to protect them. We want to, for instance, 25th of November, we did quite a lot with women from informal sector. You know, that was a day for the elimination of all forms of violence against women. So we used the opportunity, went into the community, enlightened our women on what it means. We worked in Enugu, Amacharango, inside Enugu state. We worked here in Abuja. We also went to schools to enlighten young girls, because it's always good to catch women at a very young age, to enlighten them about violence against women, and then the UN Day for elimination of violence against women. You know, these are the kinds of things we do just to ensure that our women are protected, and I think that should be the general goal. You do not leave one part. You see, the country is like a whole body, arms, legs, you know, head, you know. You can't leave one and be working with the others. It's incomplete. It's at the time that we will start working with everybody holistically, that's actually the time this country can actually move forward.
And women are the nurturers of society. Women are the builders of society. Thank you
for remembering and reminding our viewers.
Thank you very much for being on the show today. It's been quite an enlightening session.
Thank you so much.
It's been a delight. Just looking at your beautiful face.
Yes, thank you.
It's rewarding enough. Psychologically rewarding.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. So we have been discussing protecting the vulnerable during insecurity with Chioma Kanu. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back same time next week. This is Break It Down.